There's a lot of ways to make money in Stardew Valley. On this channel, I've explored a couple of them, namely mining and fishing, tending to use the completion of the Jojo route as a marker of success, if being a money-hungry capitalist can be considered a success. In this video, I'll be doing something similar, but with a slight twist. Instead of completing the Jojo route to mark the end of my money-making adventures, I'm going to set a monetary goal of 100,000 gold as my target to reach before calling it a day. My skill of choice? Foraging, which I'm sure you've already guessed given it was in the title of this video. For those of you who are new here, I'm Mo, and in this video I'll be exploring how quickly I can make 100,000 gold in Stardew Valley using only foraging. Before we begin, I need to clarify what the rules of this challenge are, should you wish to try it yourself, or question my actions. First and foremost, the prime directive if you will, is that money can only come from selling forageable items. And this is where things get a little tricky. What constitutes a forageable item? Can I sell fibre or fruit from the cave? Seasonal seeds that I plant and farm? For me, the source of truth was the Stardew Wiki. If you look at the page dedicated to foraging, you'll see a list of foraged items. If I have anything from that list, then I can sell it and add it to my total. But there's an exception I made for myself. It only counts if I get those items from my land or the main town area. So for example, if a monster in a cave drops some seaweed, I'm not allowed to sell it. If I dig up some mushrooms in the mines, it doesn't count. Another exception I made to this wiki items rule was tappers. It felt natural to me, given the recipe for tappers comes from leveling up your foraging skill, that tapping trees for syrup could also be considered foraging. I don't, however, consider battery packs to be foraging, even though the recipe for lightning rods comes from the foraging skill as well. Call me contradictory, but there you go. Finally, the total of 100,000 gold must be net profit, meaning after all expenses I must make 100,000. So if I decide to upgrade my axe, spoilers I do, then that money I spent doing so won't go towards my total. With all that explained, let's select the forest farm and get going. The reason I chose the forest farm was because there are hardwood stumps there that regenerate every day, much like in the secret woods. As hardwood sells for more than standard wood, this could be a great way to make a little bit of extra gold every day, but the only problem was I would need to upgrade my axe in order to harvest the hardwood. This meant I need to mentally prepare myself for spending some time in the caves, which I couldn't even begin to do until day 5. To this end, I spent the first day chopping trees. I very quickly dumped the free parsnips, thinking they'd be absolutely useless to me in this foraging only run. How foolish I was. You'll notice that I'm not chopping up the tree stumps. This is because the number of axe strokes it takes to destroy them relative to how much wood and XP you get is not worth it at this stage. I'd be better off using that energy to chop other tree trunks. I'll deal with the stumps later on when I get a more powerful axe and level up my axe proficiency. A few trees in and I'd already run out of energy, a sign of things to come. Planting those parsnips would have been really helpful going forward as I could have used them for food in the first week. But it's too late for that. I decided to go to sleep early, and again that was foolish, because I could have gone around picking up some forageables to eat, giving me more energy to do more. This wasn't a very good start to the run, but at least I got to level 1 foraging in my first day. Having leveled up my foraging skill, on day 2 I was able to make field snacks, meaning I could replenish my energy using tree seeds and not needing to buy any food. I also went around collecting forageables because the other recipe I unlocked was for spring wild seeds. Although the process by which you grow seasonal seeds is farming, the resultant crop is a forageable and therefore acceptable to sell. My long-term plan was to cultivate wild seeds for each season. In doing so, I'd not only be able to sell them, but I could keep a few aside and create more seeds. Wild seeds take 7 days to grow, not including the day you plant them. So I would easily be able to get a few solid harvests per month the sooner I got to planting. By day 3, I had reached level 2 in foraging, and now that I had my starting wild seeds, I made a plan not to forage around the town until Saturday. For those who don't know, the forageables on the map reset on Sundays. It means that any forageables that drop during the week will stay where they are, unless a villager walks through them. Seriously, dude? Come on. The best time, therefore, to go around collecting things is Saturday. I spent this day and the next clearing the farm, reaching foraging levels 2 and 3 by the end of day 4. There weren't really any recipes worth investing time and effort in from those levels, but day 5 brought me a new opportunity: the mines. It became apparent to me that I would need to upgrade my axe. There was only so much wood I could chop before I got tired. As well as leveling up my axe proficiency, a stronger axe would require less strokes to fell a tree, and I'd need it to get hardwood, which is considerably more valuable than basic wood. I therefore got to work delving through the mines, focusing on obtaining as much copper as I could. I knew I would need a furnace, some coal, plus the additional 25 copper I'd need for my axe. I'd been holding on to my stuff at this point and not really selling, just in case I needed it for something, like the beach bridge, which I unlocked on day 6. But it was Saturday and time to collect the forageables around town and make some money. After selling everything, I had made a mere 2,491 gold. Wood and forageables don't really sell for much, and it was starting to dawn on me that maybe this challenge was going to be a bit more tedious than I thought. What made it worse was that I knew that this money I made would not count towards my total. I would need most of it to upgrade my axe, which I did on day 7. With no axe on my person for a couple of days, I needed to find other ways to occupy my time, and being an environmentally friendly, stand-up kind of guy, I planted a bunch of tree seeds, which is the least I could do considering the level of deforestation I had exacted upon Pelican Town in the last week. I also decided to spend the rest of the day mining, as I needed the copper and I couldn't do anything else. On day 9 I got my copper axe, but it wasn't enough. I'd still need a steel axe, which meant mining for iron. Now I could have bought the iron from Clint, but I'd need 5,000 gold to upgrade the axe. I didn't want to spend another 3,750 gold on iron ore, especially not from Clint. I try and avoid giving that creep money at all costs. By the end of day 10 I got to level 4 foraging and unlocked the recipe for tappers. I was going to need more copper. I really shouldn't have thrown all that copper ore away after I got my axe upgrade. No matter, I wasn't done in the mines yet anyway. I would be bound to come across more. I'd slowly been making a little bit of money each day, but nowhere near the levels I'd need to secure my goal of 100,000. I spent a lot of time in the mines between days 12 and 15. Not only did I manage to get to the iron levels in that time, I also got enough copper to make a tapper. My plan was to get a few tappers and generate some passive income from maple syrup. Spoilers, it wasn't worth the effort. By day 15 I got enough iron for my pickaxe, and after collecting a lot of forageables and selling some of my farmed items, I was able to make 2,092 gold on day 16. Sadly, it was all gone the next day when I upgraded my axe. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. As I waited for my axe to be ready, I was lucky that this time came during the few days of the salmonberry harvest. Salmonberries reset each day, but only appear for a few days in spring. And with no axe to chop trees and get distracted, I made sure I went around gathering as many as possible. They don't sell for much, but there are a lot of them, so they make a great source of food when you're low on energy. Again, they don't cost anything, so it's a good one to keep in your inventory should you need a pick-me-up. The 17th of spring is also when you can find the lucky pot of gold by the rainbow near the Hat Mouse. But I left it. I couldn't bring myself to indulge in this free money. There are times when you can't avoid taking free money, for example the first 500 gold you start with in the game, or the 500 gold you receive later in the mail. But this pot of gold was definitely avoidable, and so I stuck to my rules and left the money. I only hope Penny came across it, and is now buying herself a lovely diamond. By the end of day 17, I had reached level 5 in foraging and was able to select my first perk. I went for the Gatherer, which gives a 20% chance of a double harvest of foraged items. My goal here was to sell and make money, not build. That's why I didn't go for the Forester perk. Selling wood was not going to be the way to make 100,000 gold, not unless I wanted to be doing this challenge for months. Furthermore, choosing the Gatherer perk at level 5 lets you take the Botanist perk at level 10. We'll get to that. Due to all my wild seed growing and harvesting, I had reached level 2 farming on day 18, and this allowed me to make sprinklers. I found that as I was planting more and more seeds, I was getting exhausted from watering them all each day, and had barely any energy to do anything else, short of munching on my own supply of goods I wanted to sell. I came to the conclusion that I'd need sprinklers to allow me to do useful things, like chop hardwood, which I was getting too exhausted to do right now. So on day 19 I headed back down the mines hunting for both copper and iron to make sprinklers. Now that my steel axe was ready, I was able to open up the secret woods on the 20th and fell into a new routine of getting hardwood and going mining. Each day I sold the hardwood, making just a handful of coin. By this point I didn't foresee any other expenses, so now all the money I made was my own. I wasn't bringing in much, but being close to the end of spring I had my sights set on summer and how I would be able to maximize my profits with the use of sprinklers. By day 26 I had a lot to celebrate. Firstly, I gained the Greenhorn achievement, which is awarded when you make a total of 15,000 gold. Secondly, I made all the 20 sprinklers I wanted for my wild seeds, and I finally got to level 7 in foraging. It was now time for me to plan my farmland for the upcoming summer. I roughly put out the 20 sprinklers, and as it was Saturday, went about collecting all the forageables in town. I received a free 500 gold in the post that morning, which I graciously accepted, but I made a note that by the end of this challenge, I would need to make an additional 1000 gold to make up for the 500 gold starting capital plus this gift. I wasn't about to break any of my own rules for this run, even if the money was unavoidable. Day 27 saw a grand total of 2171 gold going into the bank. The next day was the final day of spring, so I went around to collect any forageables I could find, given that I knew they would vanish on the 1st of summer. Selling everything, I made a respectable 2019 gold and was ready for the next season.
Hey you! Yes, you! Do you like video games? Are you a bit of a geek? Do you have trouble making friends with like-minded individuals? Well, stop searching for friendship, because at the Motown Discord server we've got just the friends for you. Whether you're into video games like Stardew or Baldur's Gate 3, maybe you like Dungeons & Dragons, or perhaps you just want to look at photos of cute pets like Lumos or Maple here. The Motown server has it all. We're a close-knit community of gamers, streamers and geeks. You'll be sure to find a place to fit in, provided you're not a complete asshole. Check out the link in the description to join today. This promotion was paid for by That British Mo. Membership subject to terms and conditions. Joining the server won't guarantee you friendship but will greatly increase your odds of making friends. Dickheads will be banned. I'm That British Mo and I approve this message.
The first couple of things I needed to get done were to clean up the farm a bit and then get some summer forageables. I need enough to make some seeds and I didn't manage that so far in day 1. I did however manage to make 1264 gold and collect some of the required forageables. On day 2 though, I got what I needed and I planted some summer seeds. With my new layout and sprinklers set up, I was very much looking forward to not using all my energy watering crops. It would also allow me to plant more. It was clear to me that growing forageables was the only way I was going to make some serious money, and so I didn't mind investing all my time and energy into it, but it was getting to the point where I couldn't water all my crops without eating into my own supply. Hopefully now that would all change. I continued with getting the hardwood every day. It doesn't give a lot of money, but it's a little bit here and there which does help. It also helps to level up my foraging skill, and by the end of summer day 2 I had reached level 8. Much of these early summer days were spent chopping hardwood, gathering forageables, planting more seeds, rinse and repeat. On day 6 it was collection day again, and as I went around collecting the various forageables I remembered something I had overlooked: rainbow shells. These summertime beach forageables are pretty valuable, and it was evident when I managed to make a pocket anchoring 3,342 gold. The other thing that happened on day 6 was that I had made over 25,000 gold in total and was visited by Demetrius, who offered me the mushroom or the fruit cave. I decided to go for fruit because I knew I would be able to make mushroom logs soon, so that would give me a supply of mushrooms to sell. Anything from the cave is a forageable, so whatever appears there I am able to sell and add to my total. Something pretty lucky happened on day 8. Now, I say it was lucky, but it will make no difference to this run whatsoever. I managed to dig up a dinosaur egg from an artifact spot. On day 8 of summer in year 1. That has never happened to me in all the hundreds of hours I've played this game. It's a shame it means nothing to this run. In the bin it goes. By this point I was focused on getting to level 10 foraging and unlocking that botanist perk. To that end, enjoy this montage of me foraging, chopping down hardwood stumps, planting seeds, and doing it again, over and over. Because that's all I did for the next 10 days. In that time, I created and planted 160 summer wild seeds. I didn't want to go mining again to make more sprinklers, so I focused all my energy on watering all the remaining crops that my sprinklers couldn't. This did mean I was running out of energy quickly, but there wasn't much else to do. It did make my reaching level 10 take slightly longer though, as I wasn't doing anything to significantly increase my foraging XP. On day 18 however, I got a huge XP boost in the form of green rain. On the green rain day in Stardew, you can get moss. And what's more, moss is considered a forageable, meaning I could sell it. I had been keeping 100 hardwood aside, and I wanted to keep 100 moss aside as well, because for 10 hardwood and 10 moss you can make a mushroom log. With 100 of each I'd be able to make 10 logs. So I put the 100 moss aside and sold the rest. Despite trying my best to get everything, I just didn't have enough time or energy to collect everything possible on the green rain day. But I did make 5,876 gold, and that was nothing to scoff at. On day 19, as a result of the green rain, many of the tree seeds I had planted had instantly fully grown. This gave me a lot more hardwood to chop, and I finally made it to level 10 and took that botanist perk. Why was this so exciting? Well, it would ensure that every forageable I picked up from now on would be iridium quality. This would massively boost the selling price of all my seasonal wild crops and even the beach forageables. This was evident on day 20, a Saturday, and therefore collection day in Pelican Town. I went around and got hold of all the forageables possible. Now that they were all of the highest quality, I made an eye-watering 21,195 gold. Now we're talking. My goal was finally in sight. Day 22 and 23 saw more of my crops ready for harvest, and I made over 20,000 gold across both days. I was nearly there now, just a few more days and I should be able to hit my 100,000 gold target, plus the additional 1,000. Don't worry, I didn't forget that. At this point it wasn't even worth chopping hardwood. My only focus was to water the seeds and go to bed again. Finally, on day 26 of summer, I sold my last forageable, and, going to bed that night, I made the final 6,048 gold, pushing me over the 101,000 gold and reaching my goal. I have done fishing, mining, combat and a lot of farming, but honestly nothing was as tedious for me as foraging. The ratio of energy to reward is very low. Unlike fishing where the fish are endless, or the mines which just regenerate every time you walk in, foraging, much like farming, is very slow. Once you chop down trees and collect the forageables that day, there's absolutely nothing to do. The trees take time to regrow, and a lot of energy to chop. The crops take 7 days, and there's really no need to go around collecting everything every single day. It becomes very similar to farming, where once you've watered your crops you might as well go to sleep. Unlike farming though, the rewards are far less. You don't know exactly which forageables the seeds will grow into, so you can't plan your income. And you can't just go and buy more seeds. You've got to wait until you either collect the necessary forageables or they grow and you can use them again to make more seeds. If you've watched my video where I used fishing alone to make more than 100,000 gold, I was able to do it before summer. A month sooner than it took me foraging, and that was my first time. I was much quicker the second time. Even mining was faster than foraging, and that was slow. Would I recommend doing this challenge? Personally, I wouldn't do it again. I'd definitely redo mining or fishing and try and squeeze out more efficiency, because I feel like I learned a lot of lessons from the mistakes that I'd made. That's not to say I didn't make any mistakes in this run, but I don't feel as though I've learned any lessons that would make this significantly quicker in the future. But maybe you spotted something I didn't. Have you tried this challenge? Do you have any tips that could make it easier or even more fun? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.